And welcome to another episode of Big Apple Hockey. It is the final buzzer. I am your host for tonight, John Fulkowski. It's my government name. I've also responded to four-letter words, other obscenities, and other things. I got chewed up pretty badly for a Matt Rempe take the other day, so I've responded to some other bad words as well. But you know me as Filk. And on the other side of me, we have Maddie from Rangers Central. How you doing, buddy?
Personally, I'm doing good. For the team, though, I can't say I'm too positive because we're in a bad spot right now. We're in a bad spot, and obviously, we're going to get into this. We're going to get more into this in this live stream, but it's bad. It's really bad. And the worst part about all of this, it was so predictable. It was so easy to see this coming, and here we are. Here we are. The Dark Ages 2.0 are upon us.
To respond to Kaylee, I think everybody needs a therapy session right now with this team. I you know, it's funny. I was talking to Richie here, good friend of mine for a long time for hockey, and I asked him. I was like, "Have you ever seen me at a loss for words?" And he goes, "No." And I am literally at a loss for words right now because or we have my captain,
Marcus, Sir Marcus.
Is that the
How we doing, guys?
meat walker?
Yeah, right back by the fridges yet again.
Wait. Is Chris Drury a bad GM? Philk, I'm going to start with you on this one.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go beer here, I guess, because I don't want to say Lob City and all that other jazz and get the hoop and break some backboards or anything. But yeah, I would say there was some chance here tonight. You heard them, I heard them, we all heard them. Oof, man, people finally starting to call for that man's head.
Well, it's about fucking time. And the short answer on it is, guys, no, he's not a bad GM. It's just that, just like the Roman Empire, you collapse on your own decadence eventually. And that's what this guy is. You know what? You didn't want to get. By the way, my wife is texting me as I'm on this, so that's awesome.
Oh
I'm
God,
just doing a quick cameo and getting out of here. But they tried to speed run this rebuild. You didn't invest in your first and second overall picks. By the way, guys, did Capo Caco have a video tribute? Because they gave one to everyone on the fucking earth. Anybody? Did he have a video tribute? Did we see?
I think he had a video tribute.
No, I think he had a thank you and then just like him and Lindgren both had a thank you and then yeah.
Okay, because he deserved a video tribute. You know why? With the way he was treated by this organization, and then he gets an assist tonight. You know who didn't have a point? Everyone else on the Rangers. They came out. They were so full of pride. They went up 2-0, and they coughed up that lead. They couldn't cough it up fast enough in the second. Seriously, if I hear one more Ranger fan, online, away, wherever one you want to say, the ones that want to say the words, they're just a run. There's no run coming. The run is coming in the other direction. They need to rebuild. Artemi Panarin, get out of New York. Bye. And don't ever come back. Thanks for the memories. Mika Zibanejad, go DJ the rest of your life if that's what you want to do. And good news, you're producing. How about having some balls to finish a game? And JT Miller, what a captain. What a captain. I am so full of pride seeing JT Miller on the ice. And I just want to say this yet again. Who's the one that first guessed bringing him back? Now he's the captain.
I was very, very much wrong on that. Normally we do the whole Mark messed up thing. Mark did not mess up there. No, he didn't.
No, because there's a reason. It's you don't bring back former players in that way. And you still don't bring him back. And Alexei Lafreniere, like, it just he needs to change the scenery. I can't wait till he pops 30 goals somewhere else. Tanner Glass, get the fuck out. Jed Ortmeyer, leave. You guys saw the video I made on the Rangers front office. Everybody, do not, everybody needs to be fired. Secretaries, office workers, the stick boy, they all need to go. Everyone, find somebody from a winning organization, not Glenn Sather, not freaking any of these idiots that are involved. Goodbye. Goodbye forever. Get rid of everyone. And don't let them back in the building, even if they forgot, like, their wedding photos. That's how bad this organization is.
Fire the hot dog guy.
Yeah, fire the hot dog guy.
You, gone. Oh, my God. This is great. I needed this Mark. I needed this Mark Williams rant right now. Oh, my God.
By the way, for everybody watching, we're doing our midseason awards this week.
Yeah, the mid-season losers, the New York Rangers. What a joke of a team. You know what? Here's the craziest part. I keep asking, when's rock bottom? When's rock bottom? When is it? You know, you get absolutely shellacked by Boston. Anyone ever play NHL 2002 here? Remember the line that the crazy guy from NHL 2002 says, "Oh, this is the worst shellacking I've seen since my pancake incident." This is literally the Rangers right now. Literally the Rangers. And nothing is happening. But you know what did happen in the NHL? Columbus, out of nowhere, fires Dean Evason after they win a game. They win a game and they fire him and they bring in Rick Bowness. That's an organization that wants to actually do something and change things up. And here we are sitting with Connecticut's pizza boy, with a thumb up his ass, doing who knows what, saying, "Yes, sir, may I please have another," to James Dolan, who has no idea of what's going on with hockey. Has absolutely no clue, doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground.
Brandon, by the way, I just want to say, don't cancel the Stephen McDonald Extra Effort Award, because Will Cooley's still trying. Noah Lava's still trying. There's other guys that are still trying. Problem is, the rest of this team just isn't that good. That one's on the GM. Let me just leave you guys with these two things. One, to alter the Rounders quote a little bit, if you look around and you can't find the Kevin Adams in the room, you're Kevin Adams. You're Kevin Adams now, Chris Drury. And secondly, this isn't going to be rock bottom, guys. I got to get back to work. But this isn't going to be rock bottom. You know why it's not going to be rock bottom? Phil hit the nail on the head. Nothing is going to happen. He's still the GM tomorrow. You cannot trust him with a rebuild. You cannot trust him. You can't trust him to order a pizza. You can't. I wouldn't trust him to order a fucking pizza. What do you think I should get, Chris? Well, you know what? I really think you should get something from Seattle and then sign it to 5-year extension. What?
After 17 games, nonetheless.
The answer.
And a no trade clause.
No trade.
Give it a no trade clause. Everybody gets a no trade clause. Seriously, Chris Drury, if you gave him a pizza, he'd come back with like sushi on it.
Oh, I said this the other day on Twitter. I've said this several times on Twitter, and I get chewed out for it. I say Matt Rempe is not an NHL player. I get chewed out for it. What is this fan base's obsession with players who their only positive attribute is hitting?
How about this, Phil? Let's be honest about something else. This fan base did not want to acknowledge when Sean Avery was done. They all just wanted to go, Sean Avery wasn't interested in hockey anymore.
Okay.
They're like, oh, Sean Avery.
There were people that were trying to say that Matt Rempe had an Avery-like effect on that lineup, and they were trying to compare him in that regard. There is no way.
Maybe a little bit, but really not as much. And again, I got to get back to work because, otherwise I'd be out here full time with you guys. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous what we are seeing. And by the way, I'm glad everybody's talking about Braden Schneider because that's proof, yet again, Jeff Gorton wasn't that great either. Everybody wants to keep on kissing Jeff Gorton's ass right now, but he wasn't drafting right either. He wasn't building a team. That was one of JD's guys. Oh, remember Braden Schneider was the guys he won Stanley Cups with. You drafted bad guys. You cannot develop. If they're right, if scouting is right, then they can't develop. So that's why you got to fire both of them. That's why they all got to go. Every one of them. Guys, thank you very much for listening to me. I got to get back to work. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Thank you, Captain, our captain. Oh, man, you wanted a meat locker appearance, Matt. You got your meat locker appearance. Before I let you go off about that and have your fun with that, I gotta talk about this comment here from Richie. So, I'm totally on board with this. Like, you brought this guy in. You wanted him to be a part of your core. You wanted that sandpaper upgrade over Ryan Strome that could possibly mesh with Panarin and be a guy that's a real shit disturber, plays playoff type hockey. Okay, fine. This shithole happens. Everything goes downhill. Shit hits the fan. And you're talking about bringing in a new captain. And JT Miller eventually gets it, but a lot of people feel like it should have been Vincent Trocheck's. Vincent Trocheck is such a leader. Where are his leadership qualities right now? Like, what are you doing? How are you not getting this locker room back on track? Like, I can't even. I'm going to get to this comment from Kaylee in a little bit. Like, but I still want to address the Trocheck comment. It's just how. Where are you? Where are you? And yeah, you can quote Mark Williams on that. You can quote Mark Williams on that. But Matt, I know that you were looking for that rant. Scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied?
Oh, that's an all-time rant right there. I give that a 10 out of 10. 5 thumbs up. You listen, Mark. Listen, we all love Mark. Mark is the greatest, and can't wait to see more of what he has to say on Wednesday when you guys do your daily or your guys' weekly streams. But I mean, yeah, listen, like, what is there more to say about this team, right? Like I talked about it at the start of the opening, right? The sad part was this was all predictable. Like, you could see this coming from a mile away. If you were truly honest with yourself, if you looked at everything with context and you looked at all the moves that happened, you could clearly see that we were heading in this direction of not even I can say we're heading in a direction. There is no direction. That is the worst part, because this franchise, this organization is stuck in purgatory, which is a place that they always seem to like to be for some reason, because, let's not ever, commit to being a, bad enough team to where we can actually rebuild properly and take the proper steps and do it the right way. But we also want to, be just mediocre enough to where, okay, maybe, we can make the playoffs, get some, playoff revenue on the side for James Dolan, of course, because, he cares more about his own pocket than he actually does about the success of the franchise. But it's just, like I said, we are always at this spot to where we are never good enough to be a true contender to win a Stanley Cup. And even when we are at some of those points, this team, this franchise never comes through because they're always missing that 1 or 2 extra pieces. And listen, we can all say, oh, but, this team was so close in 2022, two games away from a Stanley Cup final. They were 2 games away from the Stanley Cup final in 2024. But like we've always said, like I've said, like Evan said, like you said, like Marcus said, Phil, that 2024 team was nowhere good enough to win a Stanley Cup. They weren't. They got single-handedly dominated by the Florida Panthers. And what they should have done, like we've stated many times throughout after that series ended, they had to take a step back, look themselves in the mirror, and say, this team is not properly constructed to win a Stanley Cup. We don't have the right personnel. We don't have the right depth. Our superstar players do not make enough of an impact on playoff time. Defensively, we're weak. We have no defensive structure, and we rely way too much on goaltending to get them through series. Doesn't that sound kind of familiar? Isn't that kind of what stumped the mid-2010 teams from not being able to win a cup? And then we saw what happened when they gave that huge contract to Henrik Lundqvist, how much that handicapped them going through the next couple of years until they ultimately sent out the letter and quote-unquote said that they're going to rebuild, which we all know how that worked out. Yeah, what a great rebuild. Listen, it was such a great rebuild, right? That this team has 2 of their first round picks from 2017 to 2021 left on the team, or 3 maybe. Well, Alexis Lafreniere, Brendan Altman, who's barely an NHLer at this point, and because Heedle's gone, Elias Anderson is far gone, Kravtsov is gone, Keandre Miller is gone, Kakko's gone. Oh, sorry, 3: Lafreniere, Schneider, and Brendan Altman. 3 guys out of how many picks they had? 8, 9, and let's be honest, none of those guys have developed into anything. Braden Schneider is barely a 6th caliber NHL defenseman at best. And Jesus Christ, I mean, when you think you can't get bad with Braden Schneider, he seems to get worse and worse and worse every single game. Like I said, Brendan Altman at this point, listen, I got nothing against Brendan Altman, but let's be honest, the guy is barely an NHL player at this point. And I know he's been kind of unlucky. He's hit a couple posts here. He's hit a couple posts here and there, but let's be honest. The guy got drafted in 2021, right? It's January 12th, 2026. The guy still hasn't scored a goal at the NHL level. And then Alexis Lafreniere. I mean, what more can I say about this guy, right? This guy got drafted as the first overall pick in 2020. We all had high excitement for him because he tore up the Quebec Major Junior League with Rimouski. He came in. He had a great World Juniors with Canada. And okay, listen, I gave him the benefit of the doubt for the first couple of years that the Rangers weren't exactly putting him in the best position to succeed. And yes, that was true. But you also have to look at the individual player himself. What has Alexis Lafreniere done for himself to actually improve upon his?
Nothing.
As we have one of our 4 horsemen here. I don't know, Matt. I don't know.
I don't know what happened to Matt. He just bailed. I don't know what happened. No, I'm just kidding. I'm here. Yes, Kayla, I'm here. I needed to come on, Phil. I saw it pop up. I need to come on, give my thoughts on the Rangers. Everybody saw the article I wrote on Saturday on my Substack. Put it out there. I have no problem defending it. The Rangers have an ownership problem. They don't believe in anything that they do. The owner is too chaotic, too volatile, and he continues to believe in Chris Drury. And this is a problem. Mentioned it today. I think, again, this team needs to go into seller's mode. You have pieces teams want, Vincent Trocheck being one of them. Alexis Lafreniere needs a change of scenery, plain and simple. But again, here's the issue. If Lafreniere goes, you're going to start to go into that Buffalo Sabres territory of, guy leaves, guy can produce elsewhere. Why can't he play here? That's going to be a question that gets raised. But as Matt said, the scouting, the drafting, the developing in New York has not been good. The AHL does not develop players the right way. It's top to bottom. This organization is a mess, and they need to move on from Panarin. They need to move on from Trocheck, Lafreniere. There's teams want these players, and you should move on to them because the trade deadline's soft. You can do it. You have 2 trade deadlines. The free agent class isn't that great. I think there's value for some players here. And if tonight didn't convince you that this team isn't a playoff team, which I never believed they were at the beginning of the season, I had never thought they were going to make the playoffs. You have to sacrifice the season and start moving players now.
Yeah, and obviously, Jim, one of our 4 horsemen here on Big Apple Hockey. If you haven't seen Jim's article on his Substack, basically talks about how this Ranger team has an ownership problem. And the ownership problem being that, as Matt stated before, the guy kind of cares more about playoff revenue, even if it's a first-round exit, than he does the long-term success of a team. And that prevents them from rebuilding, as many of you in the chat are pointing out. Frank Adam Sikora was not a first-round pick, but I mean, he's in Hartford right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to pull up some interesting quotes here in a second from Molly Walker. So, you guys can all take a look at this, because this is tremendously, I don't even know what to say at this point. It's just, this is insane. This is absolutely insane. And let me bring this into the picture here. Yeah, New York Rangers captain JT Miller has said all the right things this season, but didn't offer much after this one. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I mean, we're going to try to have a good practice tomorrow and get ready for the next game.
Like what is that?
What is that?
What is that?
Our own Anthony Loracco in our group text goes, "What the fuck is that?" and laughed. And is he wrong for doing that? Is he wrong for doing that? No. He's not wrong for laughing at this. I don't care if he's an Islanders guy. This is a joke right now. It's an absolute joke.
No, you and I got the same problem.
My lickings because I preached that JT Miller would come in and be the first in the line of culture-changing moves. They wanted to make moves to change the culture, but this guy has been a problem. He has been nothing but a problem. And, I mean, for a guy that preached the no BS, was he the one that started the no BS shirt?
I think so. I think it was him. I think it was him.
Yeah, if that was him, you look like a horse's ass after all of this. Because you not only stuck your foot in your mouth, but you're doing everything you can to lay yourself in your own grave. Like, what right things has he said this season?
Nothing.
That his play sucks and then goes out there and plays even worse? Changes nothing about it? I'm with G and others. Like, I mean, I think Nicole and Kaylee both pointed it out in the chat before. This is a guy that can only do well when times are going good.
Or he's in a contract year. Or he's in a contract year. Look at his year in Vancouver. The year he signed his extension. Phil, you'll remember this. I think, Matt, you'll remember this too. What was the talk out of Vancouver? Oh, we're going to try to trade him. Then they signed him to an 8-year extension. Like, what are we doing? Like, I don't get it. Like, to me, here's what you need to do. You really need to sit down.
By the way,
you need to sit down as an organization and look and decide what the direction of this team is. You cannot continue to do this. Look, Devils have their own problems, and we can get into that Wednesday. We'll probably will get into it Wednesday.
Oh, man.
How they're winning 5-1 tonight is typical Devils. It really is. I have no answers for it. Don't try. But the Rangers need to pick a direction. They need to figure this out. Either you're going to play the young kids or you're not. You're going to try to get in the playoffs or you're not. But this isn't a playoff team, not even close to a playoff team. If I'm the Rangers and the medical staff, Shesterkin, you're done for the rest of the year. Fox, you're done. See you in September because this team's going nowhere quick.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, Kevin's right here. Like, no pun intended with your last name, Kev. But, I mean, like, they knew what they had in this guy. And then they bring him back. And, listen, I thought it would be a good move. I'm going to take my licks because I was wrong. And not the first time I've been wrong.
He's got to be the last time. Phil, he's got to be hurt, right? I mean, you can't be playing this poorly and you're not hurt.
But here, all the comments in the chat right now. Yo, playing hurt makes you a great captain. Like that's like the third time I've seen that comment in like in the last
Jacob,
like 5 minutes.
It's Jacob Trouba 2.0. It's Jacob Trouba 2.0.
That's another comment that's been going on in the chat. I'm sorry, I can't keep up with everybody.
I mean,
but I see all your comments and all of you guys and girls are all right about all of this. Like, I mean this is funny. Like Chris Drury fucking Thanos or something. He's collecting Millers like Infinity Stones. What is he going to do? Snap his fucking fingers and all of his problems are going to be gone? Yeah, great, Chris. Great fucking plan. Why don't you throw me a fucking pizza in the oven like Keandre Miller used to throw pizzas down the middle of the ice to the other team while you're at it?
I love it. I love when Phil goes off on the Rangers. It's crazy.
But it's true, though. It is
true. It is true.
You know,
it's the sad part is there is some good talent on the Rangers. They're not getting the most out of it because there's no direction, no leadership, and from top to bottom, the organization is not very good.
You know what? The worst part is, though, Jim. It's like you said that they're in a point where they need to pick a direction on where they're going. The problem imagine
that happens.
I'm like, if he does that, I swear
I'm coming after you, G. If that happens,
I will go.
Coming after you.
But like back to what I was saying. The worst part is it's really kind of too late to pick a direction because you're already way too in deep with this team. As we've always kept alluding to on this channel, and even like when we were doing stuff on Ranger Central, the time to actually sit down and evaluate where this team was going was after the conference final, where they got smoked by Florida, where it wasn't a competitive 6 games. And even if they didn't want to do that, the moment they traded Jacob Trouba and they got Anaheim to take on all of his contract, that was the time when you should have said, let's blow this thing up. Because essentially what happened after that is you strap yourself to this immovable garbage contract for Igor Shesterkin, where you're paying him for 8 more years at $11.5 million. And after that contract was signed, you're basically in a position where now it's like, okay, we can't rebuild because why the hell am I going to rebuild now when I'm already trapped to this contract? And after that contract was signed, it was just dominoes after dominoes after dominoes of bad decisions being made because you had the Igor contract being signed, which again strapped you into the future to where you can't go into a full rebuild. That then led to the JT Miller trade, the Carson Soucy trade, the Will Borgen trade and extension, and now we're here to this point where it's like, again, okay, even if you trade Artemi Panarin, right? Okay, fine, you get something back from him. But you're still tied down to Mika Zibanejad for another 5 years at $8.5 million. You're still tied down to JT Miller at 8 years for another $4 million. You just signed Vlad Gavrikov to a 7x7 deal. I mean, again, you still have Vinny Trocheck signed long-term, even though that contract is fairly movable because the cap hit's kind of decent. But again, you re-signed Alexi Lafreniere to $7.45 million.
He's gone after this season.
But again, it just goes to the point. How are you going to rebuild when you're already tied to this many contracts long term? And again, it's like I'm saying, the place to evaluate where this team was going was that moment they traded Jacob Trouba, because you actually could have actually shredded everything down to the core and rebuilt properly. But of course, what's the Ranger way? What's the James Dolan way? Let's try to half-ass everything, because why actually try to do something properly?
Hot shot.
And here we are right now.
That's it.
Yeah, well, let me be clear here. I said, right, if you guys remember the live stream I did right after the Sirius Panthers lost that night, I said that they needed to rebuild right then and there, and that included letting go of Igor or trading Igor. And let me be clear. Igor Shesterkin is not the problem. His contract is a problem, but it's not the entire problem. The entire problem is the fact that the front office determined that the core that they had that won that President's Trophy, that got to that conference finals, wasn't good enough to win it all. And then what did they do? They tried to reconstruct the team, tried to deal Trouba, and they should have done with Trouba what the Devils are doing with Dougie Hamilton right now. Right now.
And Hamilton had a great game tonight, by the way.
Yeah, and you know what? You should have done that, gotten rid of him, and then at that point, you should have said, hey, you know what, Igor? Thank you for everything, but you've got to go. We've got to trade you. And they should have traded him that summer, because they couldn't afford to give him a record-breaking contract when this team was just terrible on paper. They couldn't get it done, and they knew that they were going away from that group. If you knew you were going away from that group, then everybody should have went. And that should have been it. But like Matt said, they made that stupid move, and they re-signed him on the same day that they dealt Trouba, hours after that trade.
Yeah,
hours after that trade. So, like, what were you doing here? From what that tells me that Dolan got into Drury's ear and meddled with everything and said, oh, well, if you're not going to go and help save this organization from going backwards, you might not be here anymore. And that might be why they are where they are right now, because all those other moves compounded on top of that put them in this position. And that's why they are where they are, because they couldn't pick a direction. And like Josh said before with this comment, I got to find it, but he basically said that Oh, I think I have it now. Yep, here it is. Drury will scapegoat season on injuries and run it back. That's the direction. You know what? That's what we're headed for, fans. I hate to tell you that, but the Dark Ages 2.0 have fucking arrived, and Macho Man is jumping off the top of that top rope onto Bret Hart in New Japan.
Whoa! What was that? Was not necessary. Bret Hart comment, that was not necessary.
Well, that's the meme that I posted.
No, I know. I'm messing with you.
You love. Listen, be thankful I didn't say something about Bill Goldberg ending his career.
Yo, but Goldberg, we got
Jim was about to fight me.
No, I agree. I agree with you on that 100%. I just want to jump on for a quick couple minutes here, just to jump on to give my 2 cents on what's going on, because everybody's been asking me what's going on with the Rangers, Panarin, and everything. Another ugly loss to MSG. It's just, look, again, I agree with you guys. Probably should have picked the direction with them, but I always scratch my head and go back to last year. They actually had a decent record to start off the year. Why did you decide to change the culture then? Don't do it then. Wait till the end of the season. If you got a playoff run out of it, great. If you didn't, that's when you decide to do it. Not in the middle of the season. That's the worst time to do it, because that's when you send your locker room into a tailspin. And it's Chris Drury's fault that they're at this point. I hate to admit it. It's on him. He needs to own it. He shouldn't have gotten a contract extension. And that's just my 2 cents on the matter.
No, and we definitely appreciate you jumping on, Jim. It's always good to have more heads in the discussion here, especially from an outsider view. But you're absolutely right. Like Drury should have been fired. But you know what that was? That was Dolan turning around and giving this entire fan base that was calling for his head after everything the proverbial FU.
Yep.
That's what it was.
Yep.
And it was just, and it was to the players too, because the players organized that meeting at Panarin's house. And you know what? They should have went to Panarin in that offseason. It should have been like, hey, you know what? You're going to organize this meeting. You're going to organize this little mutiny here. Then you know what? You need to go to. Yeah. And he should have been dealt, and that should have been it. And I know he's got the leverage there, but this guy's got to go sooner than later.
Pick a team. Where do you want to go? This is where we'll try to send you, and that's it.
Not only that, but look at what happened to Braden Point tonight, guys.
Dude got hurt.
What happened to Point? He got hurt. Oh, I didn't see that.
He got hurt. Yeah, I mean, Cam York fell on his knee, and
knees aren't supposed to go that way.
No, they're not.
Knees are not supposed to go that way. Hopefully, it's only something minor. I don't think John Cooper gave an update tonight, but hopefully nothing too bad for Pointer. But good player. Always like watching him play for Tampa. Major loss if he's out for Canada, though. Major loss for the Lightning, too.
I mean, we'll talk about on Wednesday, we'll talk about a possible replacement for him. So be on the lookout for that.
I just want to jump in tonight and give my 2 cents on everything, because it's a mess in New York, man. It's just a mess. Complete
mess is being nice.
Well, there's some other adjectives I could use too, but maybe we'll save those for after dark. Save those for after dark comments. All right, boys.
Jim, thank you. Jim. Appreciate it.
Always, guys, always.
And Jim from obviously from Full Press Hockey, one of our 4 horsemen. But Jim doing it from I love hearing it from an outsider's perspective, because we need it. I mean, we're all loyal Ranger fans, and obviously we're going to have our ups and downs with this team. But having Jim come in, especially with Jim having seen what's going on with the Devils and their locker room and everything like that, I like having it from I like having him say it in his point of view and the way that he looks at it. But Kevin, spot on. Never will happen, because James Dolan would never do that. Remember, James Dolan was the one who wanted to have that fan kicked out for saying sell the team at that Knicks game. Just remember that.
The only thing I'll say, though, and big up to Jim as always, great hockey mind and great part of this great podcast you guys have going on over here. The only thing I'll disagree with him about is the fact that maybe they should have waited until the end of the year to start blowing things up. Personally, I don't think there was a problem blowing the team mid-season. The problem was, though, trading Jacob Trouba and that huge losing streak that the team went on during like the span of late November, December, January. I don't think that was the main problem that sent everything into a spiral and to just this insane fall into where we are right now. The problem is again, you have to look back at the offseason and what happened. Okay, Drury's first move was putting Barclay Goodrow on waivers, and he got shipped out to San Jose. Great. I fully agree with that move 100%. But then you start to see the players, they got pissed off, they got angry. And that should have been the first warning sign that right there and there, those players, this group was not good enough to win and not good enough to take the next step. Because when you can't handle accountability for failure, and like that team did, sure, they came close with the Stanley Cup final, but getting 2 games within the Stanley Cup final is not the ultimate goal. I want to win a trophy. I want to raise a banner. So right then and there, if you can't handle accountability because one of your depth fourth line centers got put on waivers and claimed, right there, that's problem number 1. Problem number 2, you had the whole thing at Panarin's thing with the barbecue thing. Then problem number 3, and like you guys have pointed out many times on this, when you have Jacob Trouba basically bitching Chris Drury in the offseason and then going into training camp and saying that, oh, this is the whole last dance thing right there, that's where everything was fucked right from there. Because Jacob Trouba, what should have been done with Jacob Trouba is what should have been done with Barclay Goodrow. And again, this was Chris Drury just not having enough balls, and he got bitched by his captain because, okay, fine, you want to put out little leaks to the media, Jacob Trouba, that you're not gonna, if you get traded to Detroit, you're not gonna report. Okay, fine. We could, if you want to play dirty, we can play dirty even more. And I've stated this before. What you should have done is, okay, fine, we're gonna put you on waivers. No one's gonna claim you, and your ass is gonna go right down to Hartford, and you could play for the Wolfpack. So you could either play in Hartford for what you're still being paid, or you could actually, admit that you're in the wrong, admit that you need to go, and actually get traded somewhere elsewhere, and then the Rangers could actually take the next step forward in terms of building the roster. But no, what happened? Chris Drury bitched out, and he let the whole thing spiral, from the later point of the offseason and then the start of training camp. Because like we all said, when those comments came out of the whole last dance thing, and then we got even rumors later on that the Rangers at that point were checked out already with Peter Laviolette at the start of training camp. Right then and there, you knew the season was screwed right there. And I get that they got up to the great record of 12-4-1, but let's be honest, that record was a falsehood.
Played a bunch of bad teams
because they were not playing good hockey at that point. There were a lot of games where they weren't playing great teams, like they were playing Montreal early, they were playing Detroit. They won a game against Toronto early in the season. They beat Pittsburgh 6-0 on open night. But again, okay, fine, 12-4-1. But again, look at the context of how they were getting those wins. A lot of those wins, they were getting outplayed, and you could clearly see that eventually the dam was going to break, and that team was eventually going to fold. And we got to the point where we are right now, to where everything got blown up, and now we're ultimately here where this franchise just has no direction whatsoever.
No, Richie, his no movement clause actually expired at the end of the 23-24 season. So that's why they were looking to move him that summer, was because of the fact that the trade protection turned from a full no move to a 15 team no trade last year, and now it's a 12 team no trade. That's per cap wages, by the way, for this season. But the problem is that you're good, dude. But it's just I mean, these extensions are bad. Like the Lafreniere extension, I thought they were onto something, and then he pulls a fucking Pettersson. He pulls a Pettersson, and what does he do? He just checks out the minute that ink dries. He checks out, and he's been garbage since. Been absolute garbage since then. And then the Borgen trade. Why were you rushing to sign a bottom pairing defenseman to a $4 million deal after 17 games and give him no trade protection? The only reason I can think of was because Chris Drury wanted to double down on the Capo Caco trade so that he looked like he thought he found something in Will Borgen.
He panicked.
And that's really what, I mean, Juuso Parssinen, that's another one he gave a deal to. Why were you giving a deal to Juuso Parssinen, and why were you giving a deal to Urho Vakanainen? I mean, what this guy has done everything awful. Everything awful. Remember, he gave Patrick Nemeth that deal. That was great. He traded Pavel Buchnevich for Sammy Blais. I mean, to this point, you know what? You're right about this, Reggie. But I mean, I say the same thing about Igor. Like, Igor is good, but Igor cannot hold this team up the way Hasek held up the 98 and 97 and 99 Sabres. Like, it just, no goalie is worth that, and they should have never done that. They should have never done that with him. And you know what? If they didn't do that, then maybe Drury doesn't go and trade Kako for peanuts, Will Borgen, and give Will Borgen a stupid extension. Maybe he doesn't make the JT Miller trade at that point. Like Matt said, you locked it in. You locked it in. And now you have to hope that the owner will actually just wake up and come to his senses and say, hey, you know what? This ain't cutting it. And just allow a rebuild to start. He's done it twice in the last 25 years. I mean, he did it in 2004. He allowed Sather to go, and Sather gave him that ultimatum and said that we needed to go and sell things off, and he allowed it. And then he did it again in 2018. But it has to happen again now. It has to. But I mean, Kaylee's 110% right here. On paper, they have more talent than some of the other teams that are ahead of them. But they are mentally fragile. They are absolutely mentally fragile. So I mean, and this really, I mean, if that's the case, if they can have the worst losing streak in franchise history, then maybe that finally convinces them. Because the standings being as close as they are is what's holding them back, I believe, from making the moves that they need to make. And when does it happen? Because look at Braden Point. Like, are you going to hold on for Artemi Panarin to have him get hurt, and then his value is nothing? Then you can't move him. Then he walks as a free agent for nothing because they don't want to give him that money, and rightfully so. I don't understand it. I really don't. I don't understand it.
But even that point with like the standings being even close, but like let's be honest. Even if you're looking at context, right? Like the only reason why the Rangers are theoretically close is because they played more games than everybody else. Because right now they have the worst points percentage in the entire Eastern Conference, down at 489. They are actually the only team below 500 in terms of point percentage in the East. The only team. So I do not want to hear anything about, but they're only 6 points out of a playoff spot. No, your team is not good. I don't get what more you have to see, what more you need more convincing of to show you that it's time to sell and that you're not a good enough team. Like I'm sorry, and again, like you could even point to injuries, but even when Fox and Igor were healthy, this team still wasn't good. They were barely a 500 team to begin with. And now they're just going. I know Igor might be close to coming back. I know I saw kind of rumors that he might be back maybe next week or in a week or two. But even then, what's that going to solve? He's going to steal you one or two more games to say, oh look, we're close to the playoffs, yay! No, sell, and like what Phil was bringing up, if the Braden Point injury is serious, you need to seriously look at maybe making a deal with Tampa Bay. Now, the only thing that kind of is weird with the whole new salary cap rules and the fact that, you can't use LTIR anymore and you have a salary cap in the playoffs. I don't necessarily know because obviously if the injury is bad enough with Point, Tampa will put Point on LTIR. But can Tampa absorb Artemi Panarin's full or maybe the Rangers might even have to eat some of his salary. But even then, if it takes eating some of his salary to get a better return back to get a better return back,
I'm okay with
trade
eating half
deadline,
of his salary for the rest of the year.
I'm totally fine with that. The only question is, can they still fit under the salary cap of the playoffs? Half of Panarin's contract and then Braden Point's contract if he were to come back. That's the only thing that might kind of mess with it a little bit. Obviously, we have to see how it goes from there. But I'm telling you right now, if Tampa is willing to make a move right now for Braden Point, the Rangers have to fully explore for one, because right now they might be a little bit desperate, even though they're going to make the playoffs and they're very comfortable in terms of where they are in the standings. But if they're willing to offer something good for Artemi Panarin, you have to take it, because one, I am not giving Artemi Panarin any kind of extension. I do not care how many points he puts up. He could be on pace for 100 points. I do not care. You know why? Because when it comes to playoff time, Artemi Panarin disappears. And second of all, I am not losing him for nothing in free agency next year. So they better get something for him, whether it's trading him right now or trading him at the trade deadline.
I honestly think that they need to. Yeah, I'm worried about that too, Josh. Don't. Oh, you're not the only one, because I don't trust Chris Drury, but something's got to happen. But I mean, I'm looking at this quote, and JT Miller is saying, I don't know, I'm sorry, before ending the scrum when I asked what changed after the first period. And Braden Schneider calling them a fragile group right now. This has been a fragile group. I mean, Kaylee was literally right about that. It's been years that this group has been fragile. Like, this group has gone through three coaches now, four coaches. We went from Quinn to Gallant to Laviolette to now Sullivan, and Anthony Bettis. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your last name, Anthony, but he actually asked for tough. He said tough spot for Sullivan. What has he gotten himself into? And I do feel bad for Sullivan. I mean, you're right, Richie. He does hold the keys, but I don't think it's going to come down to that. From what's being reported, it seems like they're going to try to find him a deal, and I think he's out. And I think he knows that the Rangers are not gonna. They're not gonna, give him the money that he's looking for. He probably would like to stay in New York. I think he and his wife love it here. But I mean, LA sounds good this type of year too. Telling you that right now. I mean, if they want to be in a big city, LA. Maybe he loves Chicago. Maybe he would love to go back to Chicago. I mean, Connor Bedard could use some scoring help there. I mean, I think he'd fit right in with Bedard. But I just don't see how you cannot start selling, especially with the Olympic roster freeze coming up. And you can get more if you deal the player before that freeze.
Yeah, I mean, another team that actually has cap space, and he would probably like to actually probably go there because he would be reunited with one of his best friends. Well, no, I was going to say Detroit. You're reunited with Patrick Kane because they have $14.3 million in cap space right now. So you could make a move to Detroit.
You know what? And you know what Detroit also has that they would love to get rid of? A long playoff-less streak.
That's true.
That Iser plan has not been the greatest for them. And I mean, Steve Yzerman would love to get that group into the playoffs for the first time since I think 2016. I think it was Pavel Datsuk's last year there. But they could use a little more scoring help to put them over the top. He could come in and help guys like Kane and DeBrincat and Lucas Raymond and Dylan Larkin. I mean, they have pieces. And the Rangers could definitely benefit from some of their young pieces as well. But, I mean, the problem is, and this is a big problem too, they're all slow. But it's not even just slow, because when you look at the Florida Panthers roster, who are the speed burners on that roster? Can you name one speed burner on that roster? Can anyone in the chat? I dare you to name somebody that you think that would probably be one of the top, I would say, 30 skaters in the league just in skating. I'm not talking about skill, not talking about game. I'm talking about strictly skating. I don't know about that. I'm going to disagree there. I'm going to say not that he's a bad skater, not that him or Rodriguez are bad skaters, but I don't think they're near the top of the league in skating. I think if we really went down a list of skaters, I think they don't really have anybody that's a real burner, a real like top end burner. And I'm not just saying like they have to be McDavid, McKinnon level, but I'm talking like maybe one of the top like 30 skaters in the league in terms of skating, like pure skating. But the point is that Florida, you want to know why they play as fast as they can?
They can play
because they're fucking good fundamentally.
They play a structured game.
That's why. You ever watch a Ranger game? The one thing that sticks out to me when I watch the Rangers the most is that they fucking suck at breaking the puck out of the zone. And I've been saying this for 4 years. I literally pulled up a post. I literally put up a post the other day on Twitter where my earliest screenshot goes back to November 2021 saying that their breakouts are shit. Breakouts are shit. And you want to know how you generate offense? You move the puck out of the zone as a 3 to 5 man unit. And that's how you gain speed through the neutral zone. And you know what that does? That backs the defenders off the line. And you know what that does? That allows zone entry. And you know what zone entry does? Leads to offensive zone chances and offensive zone time. And you know what that leads to? That leads to goals. Problem fucking solved, right? Real easy. Real easy. No, I know I could have. Trust me.
You know what the worst part is? Like I was watching the game with my dad, right? And I'm like this is one of the least coordinated teams in the league that like I've ever seen play, because when you look at actually not even that they even move up in a unit, they move up as five separate individuals. And that's the worst part, because hockey, I know the cliche, it's a team game, but yeah, it's a fucking team game. You need to actually play off each other and look at actually where you're positioned, and you can go based off of that. Because how many times do you see guys just picking up the puck and blindly just throwing the puck to the middle of the zone? How many odd man rushes the other way? How many high dangerous chances do they have or do they get up against? Because let's be honest, like, and I'm talking about this game specifically, like, sure, they went up 2-0 early in this game, but how many dangerous chances did Seattle have like in the first 10 minutes of this game? They had a lot, and Quick made a couple of good saves to he did scoreless for the Rangers. So, and not even just to mention that, but the amount of terrible pinches I see this team make, and that starts with, I mean, Braden Schneider is one of the lowest hockey IQs from a defenseman I've ever seen.
What was he doing on those 2 goals?
I mean, how many dumb pinches does this guy make? And then even when a defenseman does pinch, none of the wingers come back. Nobody on this team actually back checks. Nobody on this team can actually execute a proper forecheck as well. Because how many times
before? Oh my God, and she's so right.
But I was going to say though, how many times do you actually see like this team dump the puck into the zone, and then the other team that retrieves the puck, they just casually skate the puck out and make that first pass just to start a counterattack against this Ranger team. And then when you look at the other way, Phil, like you said, who on this team outside of Adam Fox can move the puck properly? Carson Soucy can't pass for shit. Will Borgen can't pass for shit. Gavrikov, okay, he's decent. Braden Schneider can't do it. Matthew Robertson can't do it. And then whenever they have guys that could actually do it, quote unquote, like Zach Jones, the last couple of years, say what you want about Zach Jones' defense, but the guy could actually break up the puck. But when they actually have those guys, they staple their ass to the bench into the press box, and they rather play the big bruiser type defenseman because, yeah, more hits. Yeah, we need bigger players. No, you need guys that could actually play hockey and have skill. Because, yes, while you look at a team like the Florida Panthers, and while they have grit and they have size, you know what their players who are big and have grit can do? They can play hockey. They can skate. They can play defense. They can create offense. They can shoot. They can pass. You are not going to win with a bunch of Carson Soucy's on your team. You're not going to win with Matt Rempe on your team. It's not going to happen. And again, your star players need to play that same type of style. And I'm sorry, when I watch JT Miller play and he can claim all this no BS bullshit, well, you know what? How many times do I actually see not even like mention the fact, how many times do you see JT Miller every single game get bitched off the puck And this guy's supposed to be a captain. He's supposed to be a leader. And this guy loses almost every single puck battle. How many times did I see JT Miller tonight just casually drop pucks, blindly and pass pucks into the middle? They got intercepted for chances again. How many times do we have to see that? It's like, again, it's like this guy was named captain, and there was a reason why I didn't want this guy back here in the first place. There was a reason why I didn't want him named captain in the first place, because the guy is a cancer. He's a cancer. He's a joke. And I said it right from the moment that they traded for him, that trade and that contract was going to age poorly, because you don't trade for the type of guy like that you quote unquote see as a culture changer, and a guy that you want to name captain, a guy that got chased out of multiple locker rooms and multiple organizations. Because say what you want, and I'm sorry for going on this long tangent, Phil, but say what you want about him going, to what, like I said, say what you want about him getting to that fight with Elias Pettersson in the Vancouver locker room, and say what you want about Elias Pettersson, because sure, he has checked out ever since he signed that extension. But the fact that he caused so much drama in that Vancouver locker room and it spilled out over to the media instead of actually keeping it internal like what a real leader does, the fact that happened and he got chased out of Vancouver, he got chased out of Tampa, he got chased out of New York here the first time back in 2018. The fact that they chose to name this guy captain, and the fact that Chris Drury single-handedly chose this guy to change the quote-unquote culture of this team, that tells you everything you need to know about Drury's talent identification and his leadership identification. Because I have to hear all this bullshit about from James Dolan from his WFAN interview that he did with Craig Carton, that, Chris Drury is a winner. Chris Drury is a leader. He hates losing. I don't give a shit that Chris Drury was on the 2001 Stanley Cup winning team with the Colorado Avalanche. I do not care. You know why? Because he wasn't a leader on that team. You know who was? Joe Sakic, Peter Forsberg, Patrick Roy, guys that are actual winners, guys that are actual leaders. Not this guy in Chris Drury, who, let's be honest, the only reason he has this job is because he played for this organization and because he's a yes man to James Dolan. That's the only reason he has his job in the first place.
I want to address a lot of the comments about the fundamentals in the chat. I mean, I'm seeing them from Richie. I'm seeing them from Kaylee. Who else Rankin Pick was saying Keandre Miller. Yeah, like a lot of these comments are all Rich Rotten too. How many passes into sticks and legs? That's another thing. Like, I'm not going to sit here and bash Tanner Glass and Jed Ortmeyer, for being plugs at the NHL level. Like, that's fine. They made it a lot further than I could even dream of making. They made the show. Excuse me. They played there. That's fine. But you guys are in these positions, and you've been in these positions for how long with zero results to show for it. Mark Ciaccio, another one. He's been their skills coach for God knows how long. And they can't break the puck out of the zone properly. My voice just squeaked there. I don't even know. But, I mean, I've been saying this about Schneider for a while. Chris TNYR. Yeah, so it's terrible. It's absolutely awful. But I can't understand how these guys go through 4 or 5 regimes and they can't develop anybody. They can't. The skills just are. The fundamentals have been awful for 6-7 years now. Yeah, maybe it's that, Richie Rotten, but who knows? But I mean, maybe it's just what this team does to me. I guess, but they've accomplished nothing as a group. The development, the skills and developmental team, like they need to go. It needs to happen. And honestly, you looked at the whole Columbus thing, and how they just fired Dean Evison and they bring in Rick Bowness right out of nowhere, and just you figure after this something has to happen, right? Like, we know Chris Drury's not going anywhere anytime soon. Okay, fine. James Dolan is not selling the team, obviously, because that would be if that happened, I think my head might actually explode, and you might be having a closed casket funeral for me. I'm fucking serious. So, I'll say this right now. Something has to happen. I don't know what it's going to be, who goes, but make some sort of change. Something has to happen. Something has to happen. And yeah, and Enema would, yeah. I mean, it's, and Jacob, you're right about this. The President's Trophy year was a lot of smoke and mirrors. They had their special teams were top 3 in both categories, and they were not good 5-on-5. And that cost them against Florida. That really, really cost them against Florida. It started becoming more apparent against Carolina, but it cost them against Florida. And that's part of why they lost. That and Jacob Trouba's dumb penalties. I mean, it just, yeah, and I agree. Like, someone has to fall on the sword here. Like, I don't know. I mean, Toronto fired, like, Richie, you said this before. Toronto fired Mark Savard and they went on a heater. Like, we were all like, what the hell? Why would you fire Mark Savard? Because something had to happen. And now I'm starting to understand it. Something had to happen.
The Sabres fired Kevin Adams, and look what happened. They went on a freaking 10-game heater and now hold the first place in the wild card spot. Like,
yeah, I can't even believe Buffalo, man. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy.
But you know what the worst part is? Like we can sit here, speculate, and say that we want this change of the coaching staff. But you know what? Again, more nepotism. All these guys are Boston guys, BC guys, BU guys, and I'm sorry, but this whole franchise is based off nepotism. That's it. That's the only reason. It's like Mark always says. Like, you realize that you can get somebody outside of Boston that knows about hockey, right? Like, you don't always have to go internal and go back to what you know. Like yes, I get sometimes it's always good to be, or like stay simple and stay with what you know. But sometimes when stuff isn't working, sometimes you have to do something different. Sometimes you have to go outside the box. But Chris Drury as a GM has shown that he's not capable of going outside the box, because even when he does go outside the box, look what happens. All those guys that he signs, all those guys that he trades for, they turn out to be shit. I mean, I mean, again, and like going back to the whole developmental staff and the whole scouting staff, isn't it kind of an alarming thing that we got news, especially last year, that guys like Euro Vakanainen, guys like Juuso Parston, guys like Carson Soucy, that these guys were on Chris Drury's radar for multiple years? Doesn't that kind of sound an alarm to say that maybe the scouting, the scouting system is not good enough? And listen, I get that, because I want the Rangers to change more to more of an analytical point of view, and I get that analytics are not the be all and end all, and I fully agree with that. I don't think you can base every single decision off analytics, because, as always, the eye test will always be the number one test. But you have to, this franchise, if they want to go anywhere, they have to start to modernize. Like, this team is stuck back in the 80s, stuck back in the 90s in terms of identifying talent and actually developing talent. They don't know how to find these under-the-radar gems, similar to what Florida does. I mean, listen, like, everyone can point to, like, Florida and how they built their team, but look at how they built their team. They found guys off waiver wires, and they were able to, turn them into rebuild projects and turn them into the players that they are now. Now, listen, I'm not saying that that's a sustainable matter, because the fact that they were able to take the 4 different guys and turn them into, average players into what they are now, I don't think that is sustainable. But if you have the right system in place, if you have the right analytical system in place, if you have the right scouting and develop system in place, you can do that more often. Look at the Tampa Bay Lightning. Look how many under the radar gems they find. I don't know if any of you guys saw the quote, like from the Darren Radish, contract extension talks that Julian Breezal was talking about. But Darren Radish, a guy that was in the Rangers AHL system, who was barely sticking there, goes to Tampa Bay as an under the radar pickup, and in 38 games this year, he has 12 goals, 27 assists, for 39 points. And Julian Breezeball is sitting here and saying that he's not going to rush into a contract extension with Julian Breezeball because he wants to see more. But meanwhile, Chris Drury, after trading for Will Borgen, a guy that had underproduced in Seattle and was an underwhelming pickup by most people, after 17 games, he goes, 5-year contract, $4.1 million AAV, and a no-trade clause. That is the difference between a smart organization and an organization that knows what they're doing and an organization that has no idea what they're doing and they're panicking. That is the main difference.
Yeah, and listen, like you know what, you brought up a great point with the whole Florida thing, and that's why, like, when we had the whole discussions about the goaltending and building around goaltenders and everything like that, everybody kept talking about, oh well, Bobrovsky won a Stanley Cup and he makes over $10 million. Well, you want to know how they won a Stanley Cup with Bobrovsky making over $10 million? Because in 23-24. Verhaeghe, Forsling, and Reinhart combined to make less than $14 million against the salary cap that year. That's incredible. You're never going to find that again. Never going to find that again. And these were established players. These are not like guys on entry-level deals that are all producing at elite levels, like a Macklin Celebrini or a Connor Bedard right now. These are established NHL players that were like picked up in throwaway deals or deals where teams just gave up on them because they didn't think that they were going to do anything. Forsling, I mean, he was in Chicago, and they thought that they weren't going to get anything out of him. Reinhart, Buffalo thought that he's just a 25, maybe 30 goal scorer. We're just going to give up on him. Then he goes to Florida, plays with Alex Barkov, and has a 57, 58 goal year. Like, it's stupid. It just, yeah. I mean, this is another thing. Bobrovsky was in 2023. He didn't even start. He didn't even get them to the playoffs. So it's stuff like this. But the thing is that Florida has a mentality. They have a motto, and you buy into it. And that's what Bill Zito has established. They've established a culture down there. It's a winning culture. You buy in. Look at Brad Marchand, lifelong Bruin. Guy who he sucker punched
Sam Bennett.
What the hell? What's up?
Sam Bennett.
Yeah, he sucker punched Sam Bennett, and now they're friends. And the guy comes in, and he has a friggin' renaissance for them in the playoffs. And now this year is having a renaissance for them. It's over a point per game. I mean, it's not even just pass first, no shooters. It's just there's no spine. There's no buy-in here. There's no, yeah. So it's terrible. But I can only say so much about this team. But Tampa Bay is another one. They have a culture. They have a motto. They have a buy-in. But it's just the Rangers don't have that. They have a guy that's trying to lead this team and lead it into the ground by saying no BS and then does nothing but BS. I'm sorry, I have to step away for a second.
Oh, it's fine. No, but it's just like, it goes back to the point, and it's another point of what we were talking about earlier, where how easily this team folds. And you could have easily identified this like earlier on, like going back to 22, 23, 24. And listen, like how that season played out in 2022, right? And when you look at the playoff runs, right, where they overcome Pittsburgh, they come back down from a 3-1 deficit. They were able to overcome Carolina. And, you look at the Tampa Bay series, right? Okay, they go up 2-0, and then they lose game 3, game 4, game 5, game 6, and they fold, especially after that Jacob Trouba disaster class in game 3, where, he single-handedly pretty much threw that series towards Tampa's way. But, you could kind of look at it from a perspective, okay, it's a young group, it's a young team, it's a learning experience, we'll go on from here. Let's see how they, react and go forward. Okay, fine. I gave them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm sure every single one of us in the chat did that. But then you go ahead, you look at the next season, you see how that season started in 22-23 with them pretty much kind of starting the season where they were last year, and now where they were this year, where they were kind of barely of a 500 team. And the fact that it took a helmet throw from Jacob Trouba to wake them up, again, that is very alarming. And then again, You go into the playoffs, you add guys, leaders, winners like Vladimir Tarasenko, Patrick Kane, and then you get into the playoffs, you play the Devils in the first round, you smoke them in the first 2 games of the series. You win 10-2 on aggregate, 5-1 winning game 1, 5-1 winning game 2. And then you look at how pretty much that series just unfolded after that, where they lose game 3 and game 4 back at the Garden. They get embarrassed in game 5 at the Rock. And then game 6, they win. And then game 7 was pretty much a rinse and repeat of game 5, where they didn't even show up for that game because they got smoked 4-0. And then the fact that Jacob Trouba and the group had the audacity to go to go to Chris Drury and tell him that they need to essentially get rid of Gerard Gallant because he's holding them to a higher standard and he's calling them out. Right there, that should have signaled that this team doesn't have it. And listen, say what you want about Gerard Gallant, right? To me, his time ran its course. He wasn't a great coach. He made plenty of mistakes. Fine. 100%, I fully agree with that, and I fully agreed with him getting fired. But the fact that first big warning sign wasn't realized after that major point to where you blew that series in the fashion that you did, and then you're going to the general. Oh, sorry guys, my camera went out. But the fact that you're going to the general manager and basically complaining and hoping that he could get rid of Gerard Gallant, like right there, that is piss poor culture. That is not a winning culture. Do you guys think anyone on Florida would do that to Paul Maurice? Do you guys think anyone on Tampa would do that to John Cooper? Do you guys think anyone in Colorado would do that to Jared Bednar? No, they wouldn't. But here, where it's, we have to protect our star guys, even though they didn't win anything. No, like I said, right there, that should have been the first sign that this group was not good enough. And then they go into 2024. They start off great. They win the President's Trophy. And then, boom, they meet a team that's better than them in the Florida Panthers, and they get absolutely smacked around, and they lose in 6 games. And I don't want anyone to hear anyone say, but they only lost 6 games. No. You actually watch that series closely, and you look at how that series played out. If it wasn't for Igor Shesterkin, the Rangers get swept in that series 100%. And then the final nail in the coffin, and like what we stated earlier, when you go into the offseason and the guys on that roster are bitching and complaining that a fourth-line center in Barclay Goodrow got waived because the team failed. I mean, again, how many warning signs did you realize, or did it take to realize that this group was not good enough to win? And then we had the whole barbecue thing, Jacob Trouba thing, and then the whole Kreider thing. This group of guys was not assembled to win. And it goes back to the ultimate Gerard Gallant point of what he said at the end of Game 7 in 2023, where sometimes it's not all about talent. You need more than talent to win a Stanley Cup. And you know what? Like I said, we can have all our faults. We can have all our faults with Gerard Gallant, and he deserves to get fired. But you know what? That statement, he was 100% correct. Because yes, you can say that this team has had talent throughout the last couple of years. I'm not going to sit there and deny that. They've had talented players. But you know what? Those talented players do not have the buy-in to do what it takes in terms of winning a Stanley Cup. Because a guy like Artemi Panarin, sure, put up 120 points in 23-24. What did he do come the playoff time? Nothing. Disappeared. Oh, but I'm sorry. He scored a garbage goal in Game 6 against the Panthers. My bad. Yeah. How could I discredit Artemi Panarin for him getting basically bitched around in that whole Panther series, but him finally showing up, when basically the game and the series is over? Yeah. How could I throw him under the bus right there? It's a joke. And again, it's a cycle after cycle after cycle with this franchise, because they keep on making the same mistakes over and over again, where they coddle these guys that have won nothing. You know what? You need, if you want to be coddled and you want to be taken care of, how about you actually do something for this franchise and actually win something for this franchise? Because you know what? Like, let's go back to the Tampa Bay Lightning, for example. Steven Stamkos, their all-time franchise leading player in goals, assists, a guy that's a first ballot Hall of Famer, a guy that's going to have his number retired in the rafters. You know what Tampa and Julian Breezeball said to Steven Stamkos after he had pretty much a down year after that 23-24 season? They said, thank you for all your service. Goodbye. We'll move on, and we'll bring in a guy like Jake Gensel, who is younger. Maybe will never be, will never be to the ceiling as what Steven Stamkos is a player. But you know what? He's younger. He fits our mold, and he fits well with what we're trying to do here in Tampa. That's what a winning organization does. Not what the Rangers do in terms of rewarding guys for failure. Because, again, and this just goes back to the point. The fact that Jacob Trouba was not forced out after he made those comments, and the fact that he basically said that he was going to refuse to go to whatever trade destination he was going to, right then and there, it's like, bro, like, first of all, get some self-awareness. You're not a great player. You're an overpaid defenseman, and you're a joke of a leader. First of all, let's get out of the way. So, you know what? Maybe man up, realize that you're not as good as what you think you are, and go, okay, fine, this organization needs a change of scenery. Let me go elsewhere. But no. But then that also goes back to the point of Chris Drury. And again, it's lack of leadership. Because like I said, if Chris Drury was an actual leader and he actually had balls, he would have said to Jacob Trouba, I'm putting you on waivers. You can either accept a trade somewhere. Sorry, guys, why my camera went out, why it went out again. But he could have said, okay, you're either going to, be traded, accept a trade somewhere, or you're going to sit in Hartford and you're going to play down in the AHL. But he didn't do that. And he basically let him come back on his own terms. And right there, that just shows you that this organization from top to bottom has no leadership, because James Dolan is not a good leader. He is not a good owner. He's just not. When you don't let your franchise actually properly operate like a franchise and you just let them rot down to the core, that tells you that you're not a good owner. When you have a guy like Chris Drury, who is basically bitching down and getting run over by the players on this team, tells you you're not a good general manager. And then when you have multiple captains like Jacob Trouba, like JT Miller now, when they always go on these post-game media scrums after every single piss poor game that they had, and they keep making excuse after excuse after excuse, I'd say, oh, it's just one game. It's just one game. We'll go into practice tomorrow. We'll get it all figured out. No. How about actually hold the players accountable? How about actually hold yourself accountable for once? Because I get it. The captain, the captain should be holding everyone else accountable. But you know what? Sometimes as a captain, you have to look yourself in the mirror and say that I'm not playing to the level that I'm supposed to play at. Because a guy like Nathan MacKinnon, because let's go back to Nathan MacKinnon. The season right before the Colorado Avalanche and Nathan MacKinnon won the Stanley Cup in 2022, they got eliminated in the second round by the Vegas Golden Knights. And Nathan MacKinnon, a guy that had already proven himself up to that point as one of the superstar centers in the NHL, you know what he said to the media? He said, I haven't won a goddamn thing in this league, and I need to be better. That's Nathan MacKinnon, a heart-winning center, a guy that's going to get his number retired by the Colorado Avalanche, a guy that also, when all said and done, is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He said, I need to be better. I haven't won a goddamn thing in this league. But a guy in JT Miller, a guy that's been thrown out of multiple organizations, a guy that has caused drama in multiple organizations, he goes, nah, yeah, we'll go into practice tomorrow and, we'll figure it out. That's the difference between leadership in a strong franchise and a winning franchise and a franchise that knows what they're doing compared to a franchise that is lost and throughout its history has always been known as losers. Because it's like my dad always says, it's not a coincidence that in 100 years of history of this franchise that they only have 4 Stanley Cups. It's not a coincidence because they make the same mistakes over and over again and they don't learn from them. And it seems like they don't want to learn from them because they never actually take a step back and say, you know what? Sometimes these things don't go to plan. Sometimes these things don't work out. Maybe we have to change our philosophy. Maybe we have to change our strategy in terms of scouting, development, player identification. Maybe we have to actually change that. But they don't. And that's why this franchise will continue to not win a damn thing until something actually changes. And listen, I know, like me personally, I know like Phil, I know like all you guys in the chat, I know you guys want James Dolan to sell the team. Listen, it's not going to happen. Listen, if it does happen, great. I will throw a party, but it's not going to happen. He actually needs to wake up and realize that, oh shit, this franchise is not going in a direction that it should be, and this franchise is currently lost right now. But like I say, and like we always say here, James Dolan, the only thing he gives a shit is about playoff revenue. And when you only care about playoff revenue and you only care about first-round playoff appearances, you'll never build the right way. You won't. You won't. And the 2018 letter and that so-called rebuild, it should have told you everything from there what this franchise was about. Because instead of actually doing something properly and doing something that actually takes time to do it, and I'll read your guys' comments in a second. I just want to get through this final point. But it pisses me off that there's this narrative that you cannot rebuild in New York. 100% bullshit. You can 100% rebuild properly in New York. You know what? But you know what people don't have in New York? They don't have patience. They want everything thrown at them right away. You know what? When you look at the franchises that have actually won, it didn't happen overnight. It didn't. It took time, and it took time to actually develop a culture, and it took time to actually scout, recruit, develop players, draft them. It takes time. You cannot go from one day in loser organization to the next day being the next dynasty and winning 4 Stanley Cups in a row. It's not going to happen. You actually have to commit to a plan. And this franchise will never do that because it's all about, ooh, star player here. Let me get him. Ooh, let me get this guy. Even though he doesn't fit our system, he doesn't fit our philosophy. Ooh. It's all about names with this franchise. And that's why they won't win, because sometimes it's not about the names. It's not. It's about the name on the front, not the name on the back. I don't care. Yes, I get it. Everyone wants superstar players on their team. 100%. I would love if Connor McDavid would ever come to New York. But you know what? It's about the name on the front. And you actually have to look at yourself as an organization and realize and have the self-awareness to say, this is not working. Let's change something. But like I said, this franchise doesn't do that. They don't. But yeah, I mean, let's just go through your guys' comments right here. Mike, JT never should have been captain. While the cost to get him was reasonable, it was still a dumb move unless we got him to move him. But even then again, it's like, why are you bringing in a guy like JT Miller to eventually move on from him? Like it makes no sense. And again, like this was a guy that was supposed to change the culture, right? And this was a guy that the Rangers named captain, right? So it's like, again, it's poor recruitment. It's poor, not development, but it's poor awareness and poor identification. And again, it goes back to the point that this franchise just doesn't know how to pick the right guys in order to build around and to build a culture around. Josh Stone had a great quote yesterday. He shows up so much more than leadership qualities than JT Miller. And yeah, I mean, listen, it also helps when, your father is also a Hall of Famer and one of the greater players in the NHL, and Shane Doan. That also helps. But, Chris Drury's a winner, right? A prudent move. I see Stamkos is settling now, so it's interesting to see down the stretch. Listen, Stamkos now, I think he's kind of past it, but listen, credit to him. He just scored a 600th goal the other day, but with Stamkos, it was a smart move that the Rangers didn't sign him for agency, and I'm actually shocked because normally the Rangers love to go after these old-time geezers and sign them to long-term deals, and then, we see how that exactly works out, because this franchise has done that multiple times. But, I guess good for Steven Stamkos that he's kind of, maybe figuring it out now, in Nashville. The Dutton curse will last a lifetime. Dolan isn't selling as long as he breathes. Yeah, Dolan's not selling. It's a great dream we could all have, but James Dolan is not selling. Expecting to never see a cup in my lifetime. Kaylee, I have to agree with that because right now it's not looking good, and I don't see it changing anytime soon because pretty much like I've been saying, and like Evan has been saying, and like Phil's been saying, and Mark's been saying, we're stuck. We're stuck with this core. Like I've been saying, we are stuck for the next decade. And strap in and have fun because it's not going to be fun the next decade. I'm telling you right now, it's not going to be fun. Like maybe we'll see this team stretch out a playoff appearance one or twice, maybe, but that's even putting it nicely. Like this team has no future. This team has no direction. All their leaders are pretty much aging veterans on terrible contracts. And then again, you look at their farm system, they have nothing in their farm system. Okay, fine. You can look at Gabe Perreault, but even then, and listen, I don't want to be too hard on Gabe Perreault because the guy is a young player. But for me, what has Gabe Perreault shown so far at the NHL level? Like, and listen, I get it that he hasn't exactly been surrounded by the best of talent. And I think if you were to put him in another organization, in an organization that actually knows how to develop talent, you could see more of Gabe Perreault. But right now, I'm just not seeing a ton. And hopefully, I'm proven wrong, and Gabe Perreault can be a great player for this franchise, for the next couple of years, and for the foreseeable future. But for right now, I cannot lie here and say that I'm not concerned about Gabe Perreault, because even then, one of the main concerns that we had with Gabe Perreault coming out of the draft in 2023 was his skating wasn't exactly his strongest point. And we know that this franchise doesn't develop great skaters. Quote unquote, number one, Alexis Lafreniere. This is his 6th year in the league. What has he done to improve his skating? Nothing. And listen, I get that. And again, this goes back to Lafreniere, where sometimes you have to take it upon yourself as a player to go outside the organization and improve your individual game. But it's not necessary. It's not a guarantee that a player is going to do that, because we've seen with Lafreniere, like, sure, he does have talent, but he doesn't have the work ethic off the ice to improve his actual game. And that's why we're seeing him now, and we're calling him a bust after year 6, and after he signed that the contract extension. Just me. Dolan is too busy singing Ballyho. I don't know what the fuck Dolan's doing, but I really couldn't care. The only thing I want Dolan to do is fire Drury, but he ain't going to do that, because apparently Chris Drury is a winner and he's changing the culture. Yes, that's why. Hey, listen, great culture that Chris Drury is building here, by the way, because we're 47 games into the season and they're currently third to last in the Eastern Conference, and they're pretty much about to get left because they play Ottawa on Wednesday. Ottawa's going to beat them. They'll jump ahead of them in the standings, and pretty soon Columbus. I know that Columbus hasn't exactly been great this year, but they'll get their new coaching bounce, and they'll jump ahead of the Rangers, and the Rangers will be dead last in the Eastern Conference. So, great culture that Chris Drury is building here. Dolan only cares about the Knicks. Yeah, Dave, he does, and that's the sad part. That's yep, you're right. That's a problem, 100%. With exit options, keeping players till dead on the vine isn't prudent farming, and that's also another problem with this organization, right? They wait way too damn long to actually move on from players and to identify when they aren't good enough. Prime example, because this has been one narrative that has pissed me off so much this season, and this was more pretty much throughout the beginning of the year when Chris Kreider was actually going on a tear. But how many times did we see, whether it's on YouTube comments or Twitter comments or Instagram comments, how many times did we see Ranger fans going after basically Drury and saying, "Oh, the Chris Kreider trade was a mistake. How could you trade Chris Kreider?" And sometimes I want to pull my hair out of my head, because the Chris Kreider trade was not the problem. Chris Kreider had to go. And listen, I know that the Chris Kreider's tenure here didn't end under the best circumstances, because he ended up checking out last year, and he was dealing with his own injuries. But let's be honest, Chris Kreider in his own right was a good Ranger. I don't think he was a great Ranger. I don't think he should get his number retired. But Chris Kreider, at the end of the day, he was a solid Ranger. But trading Chris Kreider was not the problem. You know what was a problem? Waiting one more year too long to trade Chris Kreider. Because when Chris Kreider should have been traded? After the 23-24 season, where he was coming off of 3 consecutive 30-goal or more seasons. That's when the time to trade him was, because you would have had GMs out there that were hungry and desperate for actual scoring depth and scoring talent off the wings. You could have actually gotten a solid return from Chris Kreider, unlike a guy in Carey Terrence, to where last time I checked, he has a grand total of 2 points in the AHL in Hartford. That's your return for Chris Kreider? Carey Terrence, a guy that can't produce points at the AHL level? Are you kidding me? But again, this franchise, they have no self-awareness, and they don't know when it's the right time to move on from guys, and they don't know how to identify talent properly. Because even look like again, the point that I bring up with Steven Stamkos, right? Like Steven Stamkos, right? His last year in Tampa and those last couple years after they made the finals in 2022 where they lost to Tampa and where they were coming off those those back-to-back finals appearances where they won 2 cups. Like, sure, even though his game was declining, like the season before he got moved, right? In 79 games, he put up 40 goals, 41 points, 81 assists. And Julian Breezeball still went to him and said, listen, we're moving on from you because you know why? We're seeing a decline in your game and you don't fit our system anymore. But nope, the Rangers with Chris Kreider came off with 3 consecutive 30-goal or more seasons. Now we can't trade you. But again, that's the difference.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. And that's what Drury wanted to do, but he went about it just in the completely wrong manner. He mishandled everything. It just so sorry about that, by the way. Matt, I appreciate you holding up the fort while I was gone there. Just had to tend to a little situation there. But yeah, I can't agree with you more. Like the way that the fact that they got as little back as they did for Kreider was just terrible. Carrie Terrence, really? Like that's the headline of your deal in a second round pick? Like you couldn't get a first round pick, couldn't get a better prospect for this guy. Like I don't know what Drury was doing. I really don't know. Like I don't know if that's the IOU for taking Trouba and that fucking terrible contract, but I just I don't see how you got as little as you did back for Chris Kreider. And the whole Kreider thing, it sucks because it just like you basically kind of like screwed yourself when you said that he was available. Like you didn't like you could have just been like, open for trade, we'll talk. But he just said Kreider and Trouba are available. Like, why would you sabotage your own their value and just give your own hand away? It's like playing poker and showing everybody your cards. Like, what are you doing? I just again, I know that Drury's not going anywhere. I know he's not going anywhere, but how does this guy keep his job? Like, what is it with Dolan with him? Yeah, they don't hate to lose. The old Shoresy line. Love Shoresy. Anybody who doesn't watch that, you should be watching that. But I mean, a lot of the things you said were completely on point there, though. I don't know. Like that's the thing. Like my little headliner thing says, where do we go from here? Like where is it? And this is a great question from Anthony. If they do miraculously sell, what are we looking at with picks and prospects? Like Artemi Panarin. All right. So I've seen Phil Kocher talk about the Claude Giroux trade to Florida. And that was, like the comparable there. Like, I think Artemi Panarin can get more than that. I do. I think that would be a worst case scenario. I think Artemi Panarin, if I'm looking at Anaheim, and Anaheim wanted to bring him on, I'm asking for McQueen, a first, and Mintyukov or another prospect. Because they want to get rid of Mintyukov, apparently. And the Rangers need puck movers. They need left side defensemen. I mean, that would be the guy. And McQueen would be a guy that should be headlining the type of deal for a guy like Panarin. So, I mean, if they got a Marchand from Boston to Florida type deal, that would be a major, major failure. That would be a failure. And to me, that would be one of the bigger, more fireable offenses from Chris Drury. And there is a long list of those that we could go over. But that would be something. I'm telling you right now, I would be absolutely floored if Lafreniere is on this roster on opening night next season. And I think it's an off-season deal. But I think if the right deal comes along, you have to move him. Even if it's at the deadline. You have to move him. And Schneider, I'm not giving him that next contract.
No.
Just like with Keandre Miller, I am not giving him that next contract because you're going to give him what, Borgen money for what? For what? What has this guy done? He's regressed at this level. He's shown you that he can't handle top minutes. I mean, this would be stupid. This would be stupid. So you bring in a late 20s player with, a higher ceiling, obviously, but that'd be stupid. Be real stupid. Everybody's talked about Brady Tkachuk before in the past, and those rumors last season, and and the whole thing, and how him and Stamkos basically shot it down, and now there's this stuff going around about the wives and the cheating and stuff like that. I wonder when it hits a boiling point for Tkachuk. I don't see him being there at either the end of this contract or after it. I don't think he's there for life. I just wonder really what it takes to finally get him to say, you know what, screw it, I want out. Like, what's his boiling point? I don't know it. You have any idea?
It would have to be soon, right? Because he's still fairly young, right? He's 26 years old, and he's on a freaking really good deal. He's got 2 more years left at $8 million or $8.2 million. So, and I'm sure he's looking at his brother and Matthew over in Florida and saying, yeah, not saying that he's going to go to Florida, but if I can go to an organization like that, an organization that wants to win, has the right philosophy, because we've seen how Brady Tkachuk plays. We've seen his influence on this Sens team, especially last year when they got into the playoffs, and especially the influence that he had on Team USA last year at the Four Nations. Like, that's a guy, like Brady Tkachuk is a guy you want to build around. Like, that's a guy that you view, and I know he's already captain with Ottawa, but that's a guy that you say, okay, that's the guy that I'm going to build around. And even though, because people always go to the point that, okay, maybe Brady Tkachuk isn't that 100-point type scorer. I think he can maybe reach that, but I don't think he'll consistently ever hit 100 points in a season. But what he's going to do is he's going to pretty much every season, he's going to give you point per game stats, and he's going to play the right type of hockey, 200-foot hockey. He's going to forecheck, he's going to back check, he's going to be physical, he's going to play good, very good defense for you, and he's going to hold guys accountable. So, yeah, who exactly he would go to when it's all said and done, I'm not too sure, but I don't know. Listen, this is a team, and I'm sure a certain someone on the Big Apple Hockey Podcast is going to like this comment, but I'm telling you right now, the Islanders are retooling. They have a lot of young talent. They're going to have salary cap room. We know Matthew Darche wants to be aggressive. If he can make a move for Brady Tkachuk, that's a guy that you put him into that team, into that organization, and surround him with guys like Schaefer, Barzal, and Horvat, and maybe you have to move one of those guys. But let me tell you right now, I would not be shocked if you see Matthew Darche be aggressive for a guy like Brady Tkachuk.
Yeah, you know what? Schaefer obviously going nowhere. That he's not going anywhere. But I tell you right now, Cole Yzerman, Danny Nelson, Cal Ritchie, or whoever else, that is not holding me back from getting Brady Tkachuk. Because Brady Tkachuk fits right in with their trajectory. And you could build around him and Schaefer and Horvat and Barzal. Could you imagine Barzal and Brady Tkachuk together? Or Horvat and Brady Tkachuk together? That's pretty damn good. And they've needed a sniper for years. My uncle and I, my uncle Chris is an Islander fan, big Islander fan. And, he's been saying for the better part of 20 years, they need a sniper. They need a sniper. They need a guy that's a 40-goal or better guy. They had Jason Blake that 1 year. Anders Lee had that 1 year with 40 goals, but they've never had that true top tier goal scorer. Tkachuk would come in and be that guy, So yeah, it just exactly it changes their team drastically. I really don't think Stamkos is a good fit for the Islanders. I don't.
No.
But Brady Tkachuk is a fit anywhere. And if the Rangers could get him, great. Do I see it happening? No, I don't see it at all. Unless it gets to a point where he says he wants out, and one of the teams that he wanted to go to was the Rangers. Okay, yeah. I mean, I'm interested. There's nothing on this team that would hold me back. Like if they want Igor Shesterkin in return, bye. Get him to waive his no movement clause. Not going to happen, but bye. Adam Fox going the other way, cool. No problem. You know what? Their defense sucks as is. You know what? Rebuild your defense then. You get a guy like Tkachuk in there. That's a guy that's a real captain. Perot, Hoffman, anyone else that they could think of. Yeah. Lafreniere going the other way. Lafreniere first and Gabe Perreault for Brady Tkachuk. See ya. I'll drive all three of you to Ottawa myself.
Yeah. But even even I know I'll be quick about this because no one wants to hear Islander talk right now. But I mean, even like it would fit like very well because I think like one of the main topic points that you guys always discuss on Big Apple Hockey, like, and especially like when you've been asking about Anthony, through the season so far about, like, okay, the Islanders are in a playoff position right now. Do you see Matthew Darche being more aggressive, and do you see him, adding to this core? Because let's be honest, this Islander team, they do deserve additions at the trade deadline because they have played extremely well. But the main thing you guys always talk about is, don't be too over aggressive and don't be too stupid with the additions you make because you don't want to throw off your trajectory. And one of the things we've always said is, okay, if Darche is going to make a big addition, acquire someone with term that has more years on his contract, not a guy who's just going to be a 1-year rental. And like we said about Brady Tkachuk, I mean, the guy has another 2 more years left on his contract at $8.2 million. So I mean, again, like that deal would just fit. It's just a matter of whether Ottawa would be willing to make that move. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I think again it would be a great fit for them.
Yeah, I mean, something like this, like Perreault, Carolina's first, and the first that they get for Panarin. Like, yeah, I mean, I'd do that too. I honestly don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. I mean, he's got 2 years left after this one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, unless he tells Ottawa that he's not re-signing after this deal ends, I mean, he's got a full no move for these last 3 seasons, this and the next 2. I can't see it coming to a point until probably the summer of 2027. That's where I think things are really going to start to get interesting. That's really when I feel like the talks will start ramping up and you'll start hearing more and more. So I can't see this. I can't see that. I don't think he's re-signing there. I don't. I think he's out. I just think that it's going to get to a point where with like a year left, that's when you could possibly see a deal. Maybe if things go really badly this year in Ottawa, maybe they could trade him in the offseason if he agrees to it. I don't know, but I have a hard time seeing it until at least summer of 2027. That's just me. Yeah. But I mean, if we're going to talk like trades with this team, it's like, what can you get for Panarin? And I think Vinny Trocheck could be a big piece that could be in play. And I say that because what other center is going to be better? What other centers that are going to be available that are going to be better than him? I don't know if the Flames are going to deal Kadri. Like, I really don't know if they're going to do it now because the talk around that has been kind of ho-hum, really. Like earlier in the year, there was like talk about it, but I mean, it seems like they might not want to deal him right now. And it's surprising to really kind of hear that too. So, I mean, you look at the standings, and Calgary is still 6 points back. I mean, LA is in that last wild card spot with 48 points in 44 games. They have a game in hand on Calgary. They have a game in hand on everybody except for Winnipeg. But yeah, it's interesting because Calgary is still technically in it. They have the they have the fourth worst goal differential of all the non-playoff teams at a -19. Nashville somehow with a -23 goal differential is only 2 points out of a wild card spot, which is crazy with the heater they've had. But I mean, Vancouver -40, St. Louis -47, and they're somehow not in last, which is insane. But I would try to move Panarin Panarin, yeah, as soon as possible. But I'd also try to move Trocheck.
Yeah, and he has a favorable contract too because after this year, still 3 more years at $5.625 million. Like if you're paying your third line center $5.6 million, that is a good type of contract. And let's not forget, I know that Trocheck hasn't exactly been great this year, but the guy has shown in the past that he's valuable at winning faceoffs, and he's a decent penalty killer. He's shown that he can at least be semi-reliable on the power play, even though you probably don't want him on power play 1. He's more of a power play 2 guy. But, I mean, he is versatile. He can move up and down the lineup. I mean, and again, even he showed in 2024, that season where he put up like 75 points. I know part of it was because Panarin went on and had that insane year, but Trocheck is a good piece. And again, you could get something from it, especially when, like you said, Phil, he might be one of the better centers that are available come trade deadline time.
Yeah, and I don't think that there's going to be anyone better available than him. I like Trocheck, especially like you talked about 5.625. It was basically like the same deal that Strome had with Anaheim. And you have a guy preferably you would want to have him as your third line center. And now the going market rate for third line centers is starting to be between, like, I would say 5.5 to 6.5 million. I mean, Wenberg, look at what he just got.
Yeah.
And he's really they have him playing in their top 6, I believe, in San Jose, but it's still, he's probably a third line center on most teams. So it's interesting to see the way that the market has worked. And I think that only works to the Rangers' advantage because there's definitely a few teams that could definitely use him. Yeah, Wenberg is playing on San Jose's second line right now with Toffoli and Regenda. So, there's quite a few teams that can absolutely use him. Absolutely use him. LA could use him after dealing Philip Deneau away. And Philip Deneau, he just talk about a guy that fell off a cliff. But yeah, I think that there would be a big bidding war for Trocheck if he was made available. And he's only got a 12-team no trade clause or no trade list. So I don't know what 12 teams those teams are. But man, you get him to one of those teams that's not on that list, and you probably could get a haul for a guy like him. I would say.
Yeah.
Otherwise, would Braden Schneider be available? Not that he would get a lot, but you could deal him for futures. So, listen, I just don't want to give him that next contract. I feel the same way that I felt with Keandre Miller. Just whatever you do, don't give him a raise and an extension. Because I think we know what we have, and this is what he is. He's a number 6 defenseman that's okay in that role, and if you have him as anything more than that, you're exposing him because he's not good offensively. I mean, he doesn't play well with increased minutes. Can't handle tougher defensive assignments. I would move him. I would personally, I would move him. I don't think he's that far above replacement level to a point where you're gonna be so bad defensively without a guy like that.
Yeah, I mean another destination I could see maybe working out for them, because I mean if you put Trocheck on that 1, 2, 3 down the middle, even kind of if you want to do 1 through 4, if you really want to stack down your centers, they have $3.9 million in cap space, so they would have to move out of contract. But because one of their guys went on LTIR, you could send Trocheck out to Dallas, and now you have a center core of Johnston, Hintz, Trocheck, and now you could move Duchesne to the wings. Dallas could be a very good fit for him as well.
Yeah, that is a really good fit. And I just looking at their cap situation, because it's you got to remember that you're talking about a player with term. Dallas doesn't have a first round pick this year, I don't think. No, I don't think they. No, it's a top 10 protected.
Yeah, that was in the Carolina trade for Stankoven when they sent Rantanen.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and that might be what holds them back in a trade with Dallas. But not only that, but you remember Jason Robertson, restricted free agent.
Yeah, that's true. Also,
Nils Lundqvist, but that's nothing. That's a nothing deal. The only thing is, like, what's going to happen with Tyler Seguin? Like, is he LTIR retiring?
Yeah, that I don't know. Because he's 33 years old, and he tore his ACL, so he still could come back. I just don't, because he's going to be out the rest of this year. How much long of next year is he going to be on LTIR for? That's the only difference.
Yeah, I mean, Ducks would be another team that I could see. I mean, I look at the Anaheim Ducks. I think Panarin's honestly a better fit for the Ducks than Trocheck when I look at that team. Down the middle, they have right now Mason McTavish and Leo Carlsson as their 1-2. But, on the wings, it's Gauthier and Granlund, and then Killorn and Beckett Seneca, and then Chris Kreider and Ryan Strome being centered by Ryan Paling. Which, I guess, you could put Trocheck there too. That would help. But, Trocheck and Panarin to Anaheim for a massive deal. They almost made that deal for back in 2024. It would have been Kako and I think a first for Vetrano and Henrique.
Yeah,
they were close to that. Maybe they could do something like that. You do Panarin and Trocheck to Anaheim for a first round pick, Roger McQueen, Pavel Mintyukov, and maybe a couple of other prospects. LA could be. I mentioned LA before with Trocheck. LA fits for Panarin too. They need help, but I don't know if they want to deal Brandt Clark though. I would love Brandt Clark back in return, but I don't know if they want to do that, especially with Doughty getting older and looking towards retirement. He still plays like 25 minutes a night somehow at his age, but it's just phenomenal. But
yeah, Carolina is also a fit too. The only thing that scares me at Carolina is something tells me that Drury would take back fucking Kotkaniemi in that deal, and I want no part of Jesperi Kotkaniemi.
Oh, geez, no.
I want no part of that.
Please, no. That would be terrible. Terrible. And no, Edmondson wouldn't be a player that I would target in any type of deal. Oh, yeah, but here's the thing. The LTIR loophole is gone this year. Like you need to be able to have some sort of salary in place, some salary moved to be able to get him on that roster come playoff time. So you got to be careful. Got to be careful. I mean, I don't know what else Tampa Bay could really move around at this point. And just looking at their cap situation, because they're technically over. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with Point.
Yeah, I mean, they could move because the only guy with like really big salary that's going to be a free agent next year is Bjorkstrand.
Bjorkstrand.
Yeah, that's. You think you could move Bjorkstrand?
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is even Bjorkstrand's salary is less than Trocheck's. Yeah, I don't know how that works. Gord, they just gave a huge extension to with years wise, but it's only $2.333 million. I mean,
because even their decor, I don't because they're not moving on from Hedman. McDonough just signed an extension.
Yep.
Chernak's making 5.2. I mean, could you move him? Sure, but and then Moser's just got locked up to an extension for the next couple of years at 6.75. So, and then the rest of their decor's not making anything. Darren Radish is not making $1 million. Lilleberg's $800K. So there's not a lot of salary to maneuver around Tampa. So
yeah, I don't know how they get a deal done. I mean, the Rangers would have to retain, but I mean, I don't know if the Rangers are going to want to retain for 3 years. Like retaining half on Panarin for the end of the year doesn't really hurt them, but retaining on Trocheck, I mean, even if you retain half of that, that's 2.875 million, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
And it's, yeah, I don't know if that's plausible. I really don't know if that's plausible at this point. Not only that, but I mean, I look at Tampa's situation. They don't have a first round pick until 2028.
Yeah.
So that was a part of that Gord Bjorkstrand deal. Yeah. But I'm going to probably wrap this up here.
Yeah.
It's getting a little late. And I don't want to keep being too loud or anything like that. My buddy trying to go to sleep. He's got work tomorrow. But yeah, definitely wanted to hop on and do this and talk some hockey because I know some people wanted to vent. And yeah, Stian Solberg, yeah, that's a interesting prospect. I could see Drury loving him. But yes, yeah. Sorry I had to cut out in the middle of it. I had to attend to something, but yeah, I'm glad that we could get on tonight. I thought tonight was the perfect night for it. But yeah, thank you, Matt, and thank you, by the way, for holding the fort while I was gone. I appreciate you, really do.
Yeah, no problem.
But yeah, definitely check Matt, and hopefully when Evan gets back and he's got all of his stuff, all in check, you guys will be back strong with more Rangers Central content. So, but definitely check them out. Matt's on Twitter as well. So is Evan. We'll be going on.
Yeah, and check out Mets Central too if you guys want any more Mets comments or Mets content.
Yeah, definitely check out Matt and Evan on Mets Central then, because they're always talking Mets there. Interesting off season for them, by the way. I don't know what's going on with the New York baseball right now. Tell you that. But yeah, definitely thank you all for joining. Appreciate it. 200 of you this late. It's pretty impressive. So hopefully you all enjoyed it. Tune in Wednesday afternoon. We'll be on Wednesday afternoon for our weekly stream where we're going to be talking more about this, plus the Devils. Obviously, we'll talk about the Islanders and what's going on over there. But yeah, and stuff around the league. So hopefully you'll start seeing more trades with the Olympic roster freeze coming up soon. So everybody, guys, girls, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you all. Have a good night, and hopefully we'll see you all Wednesday.